Hello, it's a lovely morning from here in Delhi and hope that each one of you, as always, are absolutely fine, hale and hearty. So a great welcome once again to this live session which we are conducting right now from here, and this is meant for, as each one of you are well aware of. So a great welcome once again to this live session. Welcome to this particular live session which we are conducting especially for CA Final Financial Reporting new course, and remember one thing, this is basically meant especially for upcoming May 2019 examination. The basic purpose and objective of what we call conducting this particular session is to give you some inputs with respect to what we call your preparation strategies, should I call it what we call a strategic preparation strategy, and that is of foremost and paramount importance to confront any examination, and if the examination happens to be of such high status. So basic purpose of conducting this particular, as I said, live session is to give you some inputs with respect to actually how to go about the entire course, then how to do the maximum preparation in the minimum time, and of course how to actually stress upon the focal areas, and last but not the least, how to actually go about what we call answering your questions. So these are the things which we are going to actually take up in this particular session, and I'm very sure that these things will hold you in a very good state when you are going to actually confront the examination. And through my experience, and of course through interaction with the what we call student fraternity along with what we call teaching fraternity, I have noticed actually some unnecessary notions are actually making a grapevine. So that is yet another purpose whereby actually we would love you to actually eradicate out all such notions, hunches and scares and fears. So that is the basic reason for coming live and having a sort of what we call direct interaction with the students. Correct? So in this particular session, first of all, I would love you to have a register and a pen actually along with you, because we are going to write a little bit, and then also along with that we are going to discuss all those points which I just actually said a minute ago, how to go about the entire what we call course, and how in minimum time we could go for what we call maximum preparation, which are the areas which we need to actually stress upon, and besides that actually we need to be absolutely clear with respect to our strategy with respect to the course contents. So here we go and start this particular session. So please pull out your register, pen or whatever you may be, if in case if you are interested in writing down the things. Now just have a look over here. First point which I would love to actually discuss is with respect to IND AS. This is the core area of your course without any iota of doubt, as each one of you are absolutely aware of. Regarding IND AS, I have seen many hunches. And there is some good news also for the student, because recently ICAI has released what we call a notification whereby some portions of IND AS have been now deleted. So this was yet another purpose and objective to conduct and make you aware of which are the IND AS which you should go for with what we call greater strength and intensity, and which are the IND AS where you can have a little bit what we call lighter look, and which are what we call are the IND AS which you can completely now ignore out. So here we go, IND AS. We will start from the scratches as is my habit. So first one, just have a look over. Your IND AS 1, this is IND AS 1. Please write here IND AS, because time and again I cannot write. IND AS 1. IND AS 1, as you know, deals with presentation. So this is standard, because I am writing and I just want to consume lesser time. Pen is not working well, I will take up another pen. Now presentation of financial statements, correct? This is the standard number 1. Number 2 relates to inventory. Each one of you are well aware of, and you might be wondering actually why in this what we call preparation strategy class. I'm writing all these things. I will let you know in a short while, but I can assure you that you are not going to actually repent later on. Second relates to inventories. Let me make it clear, because throughout my classes, once I found that one student asked me, sir, you haven't actually released Ind AS 3 yet. Now this looks a little bit what we call very ridiculous, because right now there is no Ind AS. I am putting up a dash here. It means there is no Ind AS 3 at this moment. Likewise, there is no Ind AS 4 at this moment. There is no Ind AS 5 at this moment. And likewise, there is no Ind AS 6 at this moment. Is it clear to you? So you need not require to develop a phobia that we haven't released Ind AS 3, 4, 5 and 6. Reason is very simple, because presently at this particular moment, there is no Ind AS 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, Ind AS 7, as you know, relates with cash flow. During my initial prefacing wordings, I did tell you that how in minimum time you can maximize your preparation. Now, just pay attention to words here. Cash flows. Now, if you are having a look over cash flow, and some of you must have gone by now actually, now this is absolutely similar to what we call existing accounting standard 3, isn't it or not? So what my point is that you need not require to waste much time. Either you what we call study Ind AS 7, or you can simply have a look over what we call existing accounting standard AS 3, because if you cover either of the contents, then you would have had what we call then covered AS 7 and along with that AS 3. So my advice is that you simply go through what we call over Ind AS 7, and along with that what we call simultaneously, and we call it in English concurrently, you will have done what we call existing accounting standard AS 3. The only difference is with respect to bank overdraft, which we have discussed. Remember one thing, if you are going about what we call cash flows, Ind AS 7, then along with that we have discussed that what we call differences. So that will give you a good look also that which are the focal areas which differentiates what we call Ind AS and AS. So my advice to you is you need not require to go over what to AS 3, simply go over to what we call AS 7, study it hard. Along with that, provisions of AS 3 too will be covered. So similarly, accounting standard 8 is there, isn't it or not? Accounting standard 8 deals with accounting policies, as you know, and along with that, changes in estimates, accounting policy and changes in estimates. So my point is that if you are doing what we call this Ind AS, that means most of the provisions of existing accounting standard AS 4.2 will be covered. So you simply stress upon what we call Ind AS 8, leave what we call from your preparation strategy schedule AS 4. Simply go about this particular standard, and if you have done the questions of this particular standard, you will have covered the what we call then existing standards question 2, correct? Because absolutely same. Similarly, remember one thing, at this moment there is no Ind AS 9, so don't ask me. Similarly, Ind AS 10. Regarding Ind AS 10, if you are going to pay attention, well, you will find down over there, actually pen is giving me a little bit problem. This particular Ind AS deals with what we call events after the reporting period. 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 You have already done AS4 earlier. Accounting policy changes in estimate is similar to AS5 actually, not AS4. In fact, events after reporting, it is similar to what we call AS4, events occurring after the balance sheet. So you need not require to waste your time in doing what we call AS4. You can simply go about what we call Ind AS 10, and along with that you will automatically cover what we call existing accounting standard AS4. That is what my point is. That is how what I meant by in minimum time, how you can maximize your preparation, correct? Similarly, now we go over to Ind AS 11. What about this? There is no Ind AS 11 at this particular moment. Similarly, Ind AS 12, very important, most significant. In the initial preface, I did talk about the fact that which are the focal area. Focal area means where you need to actually put up greater zeal, greater enthusiasm, and greater intensity above all. So as far as AS 12 is concerned, I have to speak fast today because we have got some limited time to cover up what we call all the aspects during this particular discussion. So that is the reason we are going a little bit fast. So Ind AS 12, very important, need not require to tell you, deals up with income taxes. Here, this particular standard will give us some hiccups and some bump ups, no doubt about that, but as if we want to achieve something very, very tough, then we need to put up hard effort, needless to add that. So Ind AS 12, this is very important standard which you need to actually pay attention to. So I'm putting up a mark here which signifies that these are the focal areas. Then at present, there is no Ind AS 13. At present, there is no Ind AS 14. At present, there is no Ind AS 15. At present, there is Ind AS 16. Now, good thing about that Ind AS 16 is absolutely similar to existing accounting standard, what we call 10. Isn't it or not? So if you have gone about what we call Ind AS PPE in full-fledged manner, automatically you will see that you have covered what we call all the provisions of existing accounting standard AS 10 also. So what my point is that instead of what we call studying both the what we call standards separately, you simply stress upon what we call Ind AS 16, but you need to take care of this particular fact that this particular standard is corresponding to what we call existing accounting standard AS 10. So that is the point I just wanted to hammer into your mind. So keep these things in your mind, that which are the standards, which are the Ind AS which have what we call similar striking what we call resemblance with the existing standards. Similarly, now we go about what we call 17. Now if you remember 17, leases, very interesting standard. Good thing about is that there is hardly what we call any difference between the existing provisions, existing standards and the Ind AS, similar to AS 19. AS 19 I am talking about. It means once again, time and again I have, now so often I have told you that some of these standards have got absolutely what we call, you can simply say, striking resemblance with the existing accounting standards. Simply go through over what we call accounting standard leases. You need not require to waste your time in then studying what we call existing standard AS 19. You will have covered all the points. Then we go over to 18. Good thing about is that AS 18 deals with revenue. Now this standard, then recently ICI made a point on account of global pressure also that this standard will be replaced by Ind AS 115. Now the latest news is that neither AS 18 nor AS 15 is in your course. So I am putting up a red sign here. You need not require to now study either AS 18 or either what we call Ind AS 18 or what we call Ind AS 115. Both these standards, because of some controversy, because of some controversial what we call aspects, and because of some unclear provisions, ICI has recently issued a guideline wherein they have given us a specific what we call direction that for the upcoming May 2019 examination, student need not require to go about Ind AS 115, and Ind AS 18 was not at all given in the course earlier. So you simply can ignore what we call Ind AS 18 and Ind AS 115. So you need not require to go about this. So that is why I am telling that you need to be absolutely clear about what we call your course content and the latest guidelines which have been issued by ICI. It is also what we call given in the site. So you can go over there and have a what we call look also. Then Ind AS 19 we come over to, relates with employee benefits, very strong standard. Now this standard employee benefit has quite a bit similarity with what we call existing standard AS 15. So if you can stress upon Ind AS 19, let me tell you, you can very lightly go through over what we call AS 15. Correct? Barring some short-term provisions, there is hardly any what we call differences. Otherwise, Ind AS 19 and what we call AS 15 more or less are absolutely same with respect to the provisions. Correct? However, with respect to short-term benefits, there might be some differences, as I said. So only that particular point you can cover from existing standard, and that point you should also what we call study from Ind AS so that you can get the difference in a better manner. Then we move over to 20, Ind AS 20, or should I take a next sheet? I hope you have written it. I am picking up another sheet. Now here just pay attention. Ind AS, let me write just to reduce the confusion level, Ind AS. Now we shall come over to Ind AS 20, relates with government grant, if you remember. Yes sir. Now this standard, if you have gone through then you must have noticed that quite a bit similar to what we call its corresponding standard, which you have already studied in your higher level, in your earlier level rather, what we call government grants under AS12. So under AS12, not Ind AS 12. Ind AS 20 government grant is similar to existing standard. Existing standard means accounting standard AS 12. So with a light difference that in what we call existing AS, we have noticed that grants can be capitalized, but as far as Ind AS is concerned, capitalization of grant now actually is not possible. So barring this particular difference, rest of the things are absolutely same. So my sincere advice once again to you is to just give a what we call high intensity, what we call schedule to Ind AS 12, and you will see that you have covered most of the points of existing standard also. Similarly, besides 20, then we move over to 21. This is related to government grant, just to clarify the point. And then Ind AS 21 relates to effects of changes in. Now this is the standard, this is the third standard where you will have to put in some extra efforts. Effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. Changes in foreign exchange rate, FER in short form I have written. Now this time I will not advise you that this particular standard is absolutely similar to the existing accounting standard AS11. No, you will have to study both these standards, because now the concept of functional currency has taken place and it has replaced the what we call concept of foreign currency. So that is the reason actually this standard and AS11, they differentiate quite a bit. So in this particular standard I will simply not ask you to actually go through or go about only what we call Ind AS. You will have to study AS20, Ind AS 21. Besides, you will have to actually give equal intensity to AS11 also. However, AS11, the concepts you are already familiar with. So if you remember, you have already what we call recapitulated those what we call provisions, then you can simply go about what we call Ind AS 21. Then we can move over to 22. Presently, there is no Ind AS 22. 23, Ind AS borrowing cost. Oh my God. Good thing about is borrowing cost, Ind AS I am talking about, is absolutely similar to, now if you are similar to what we call AS 16, correct, the existing accounting standard. So you simply what we call go about Ind AS 23, you can ignore what we call 16, because if you have studied borrowing cost Ind AS, then all the provisions in the question you will have covered, correct. So need not require to waste your time in what we call going about both. Simply stress upon what we call Ind AS 23, all the aspect of AS 16 will be covered. Then 24, Ind AS 24 related to related party, not a very strong standard. So you can study this, but you can give it a lighter look. Then 25, presently 25, Ind AS 25. Then 26, then 27. 27 relates to separate financial statements. Separate financial statement. Let me tell you, this particular standard, you can simply go about the provision with a lighter look. I don't think any question can be asked and tossed up from this particular examination, from this particular what we call Ind AS, correct? Financial statements. Then 28. 28 deals with investments in associates. Investments in associates. Well, this particular standard, you can expect a short question. You can expect a short question of 4 or 5 marks from this particular standard. That is my personal opinion. Then we move about to 29. Then we go over to 30 dash. We go over to 31 dash. Dash, you understand the meaning? No Ind AS at this moment. 32. 32 is related with financial instruments presentation. If you remember, actually presentation of financial instruments. Presentation of financial instruments. Since this particular standard will be taken up, or should I say is clubbed with what we call financial instruments, so you need not require to give it a separate look, but you will have to study very hard all the standards which have a relation with what we call financial instruments. 32, then 33, EPS. 34, interim financial reporting regarding these two standards, let me make it absolutely clear. EPS, you have already studied corresponding earning per share 20. Corresponding, when I say, it means I'm talking about the existing accounting standard. And if you have in your mind still all the provisions of existing accounting standard, you can simply take a lighter look over Ind AS EPS. It means I am simply saying indirectly that Ind AS 33 and what we call existing accounting standard AS 20 are absolutely same. You can do either the questions from the viewpoint of Ind AS, that means same question which was appearing in existing accounting standard may be tossed up in the form of Ind AS, because the provisions more or less are absolutely same. Similarly, interim financial reporting. Interim financial reporting, you have already gone through what we call AS 25 quite well, isn't it or not? You have studied what we call interim financial reporting earlier. Now, if you haven't, then my advice is that because IFR existing accounting standard AS 25 deals up with debt, it is also in your course, and Ind AS 34 also deals with IFR. Now my advice to you is how to go about that. You go through what we call simply Ind AS 34 and you will see that you have covered all the questions of what we call existing accounting standard also, because the provisions are absolutely same. So that is what my point is, that how within what we call minimum time and with a good strategy we can do what we call maximum preparation. Is it clear to you? You need not require to do separately IFR and AS 25 also. Similarly, presently 35, no, 36. We shall take 36. In fact, we have already covered impairment. Once again, this standard and the existing accounting standard AS 28 are absolutely similar. When I say similar, you should get the what we call point. A point is enough for the wise man, as the saying goes about. So point here is that need not require to do separately AS 28 and Ind AS 36. After having completed all the questions of Ind AS 36, you simply have a look over the questions and the cases of what we call AS 28. You will find that all the cases are within your grasp. Then similarly, 37 deals with provisions, current liability provisions, contingent liability and contingent assets. Correct? This standard and AS 29 are absolutely same. So, but if I am saying same, then my advice is that you go for what we call Ind AS and you will cover all the aspects of the what we call corresponding AS. Then similarly, 38 related to intangible assets. We have covered almost 30 to 40 cases in almost all the standard, barring a few. Correct? So those among you who have taken our classes must have seen actually that we have done a Herculean task, I should call it, if you allow me to. You might feel actually it's a pretty arrogant remark, but nothing like that. What my point is that in order to cover sometimes 40-50 cases are needed to cover the standard the way it should be covered. Now intangibles, this is similar to what we call your existing accounting standard AS 26. So advice is simply go through what we call over Ind AS 38 intangible and all the what we call points of existing accounting standard AS 26 too will be covered. Then after having a look over this, then we shall move over to Ind AS 39. Now Ind AS 39 is no more. Then 40. 40 is related to investment property. This is very strong standard. Don't take it lightly. Investment property, definitely I feel that question could be tossed up from this particular standard. Investment property. I'm putting a red sign again. If I'm putting up a red sign again, you need to understand that these are the standard where you need to give what we call high amount of what we call your energy and intensity. Then 41, agriculture. Since it's a new standard, remember one thing. Sometime I have a hunch that a student unnecessarily ignores such standards. You take, I'm not ready to bet my hair on it, but my point is that I feel, and somewhere inside of my heart I feel, and I have a hunch, as I said earlier, that question may be asked even from this particular standard. I do not know how far I would be correct, but I wish I should. And I also hope that it will help you too. So you please have a look over and don't ignore what we call agriculture. It's a strong standard. Now after 41, there is no standard from 42 till what we call 100. Correct? That means 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, till up to 100, there is no Ind AS at this particular moment. So directly now we shall move over to 101. This standard is first time adoption. First time adoption. Now sometime I have seen actually students have a lot of what we call scare with respect to this particular standard. If you will study this standard first, you will never ever understand this. In order to grasp the conceptuality of this particular standard, you remember one thing, you need to have the knowledge of all these standards. As far as preparation is concerned, first of all, you must understand that unless and until you have done and covered all the Ind ASs, you cannot what we call go about first time adoption. So only after having completed majority of the Ind AS, you take a look over this particular standard. Now the good news is that this standard has been prepared basically to acquaint the student fraternity and of course the teacher fraternity and the accounting professionals that how to actually adopt the Ind AS, especially when you are shifting from what we call your traditional base towards what we call Ind AS. Idea is this. You might wonder that I have a doubt whether any question could be tossed up from here, but some smaller question could be tossed up from here, not very high length question, correct? So you should give attention to this particular standard because it will hold you in a very good state later on when you are going to move into your practical life too. So that is all the more a bigger reason for you to actually give high amount of attention. Now we shall move over to Ind AS 102. Ind AS 102. This particular standard will be covered along with the chapter share-based payment. That means you need not require to give much attention towards the theoretical aspect, but because share-based payment, because it is related to share-based payment, so you can have a question, practical question from this particular chapter. Correct? Ind AS 102. Ind AS 103, the biggest of all, related to business combination and your corporate restructuring. This standard is virtual certainty. Business combination. Correct? This standard is related to business combination, and here I am putting up 2 stars. If I am putting up 2 stars, or should I say 3 stars, that means this maximum attention, maximum what we call focus should be given towards what we call this particular standard, because you will have one case study and one long question from this standard. This is my personal assessment. Then good news for you. Ind AS 104 related to insurance contract as per the guideline issued by ICAI now has been excluded. I'm not saying deleted. There is a lot of difference between these two words. Has been excluded right now for the May 2019 examination. I'm not saying for what we call November 2019 examination. We do not know anything regarding what we call November 2019 examination. It's pretty far away right now. So we are dealing up with only May 2019 examination as per the guideline issued by what we call ICAI. This particular standard has been now deleted. Has been what we call excluded, not deleted, excluded. Ind AS 105 deals with non-current asset held for sale. Non-current assets, NCA, held for sale, HFS. In short form, I have written very strong standard. You can definitely expect a question from here. I personally feel you can have a question from this particular standard. Again, a good news for you. Ind AS 106, which we dealt with great vigor. In fact, with all, you must have noticed all the Ind AS, we have really sweated it out to give you the best, widest, in-depth, insightful coverage and most penetrative one too. But unfortunately, all our efforts have gone in vain now, because Ind AS 106, which is related to oil exploration, correct? Now this particular standard too has been excluded. Here I am putting up a cross, which means for the May 2019 examination, no question will be asked from insurance contract and what we call 106 oil explorations, correct? So now we move over to Ind AS 107. Now if you remember Ind AS 107, do you remember Ind AS 107? and Ind AS 109. There is no Ind AS 108 and Ind AS 109. Both these standards are related to, this is related to disclosure aspect, this is related to recognition aspect, and both these standard 107 and what we call 109 we will cover along with financial instruments. Is it clear to you? So that means Ind AS 106, 109 and 32, they all are part of financial instruments. One is related to financial instrument, another one is related to what we call presentational aspect, another one is respect to what we call disclosure aspect, and one is related to recognition, classification and measurement aspects. So all these standard, as I said, you will automatically covered once you will do your financial instruments. Is it clear to you? Then we come over to Ind AS 110. This is the standard after 103, which is the most important one, consolidation. And here I am allotting it 4 stars and 5 stars. Why? Because this particular standard you will have 2 illustrative case study questions and 1 practical long questions, or there could be 1 case study question, 1 short practical question related to what we call computation of goodwill or non-controlling interest or whatsoever it is, and 1 is preparation of what, of course, the consolidated balance sheet and the consolidated account, as you call it. My sincere advice is that when you go about what we call all these standards, you need to take into your account that along with this particular standard, you need to have a good look over Ind AS 111, Ind AS 112 and Ind AS 28, which we talked about earlier. So these 2 standard too, in fact all these 3 standards are very vital, but prominent among them is Ind AS 110. Correct? Because these standards some or other way related to what we call 110. Then we shall cover up 113. It is related to fair value. Now this particular standard is theoretical in nature, but it will tell you how to compute the fair value so often, which is used in entire what we call Ind AS. I don't think any question will be tossed up from this particular standard, but this particular standard is vital in the sense that it is it works almost like a bridge to understand the concepts well related to other standard. Then last but not the least, 104, again a good news for you. This particular standard is related to referral. Correct? Go now, referral accounting. Now point here is that this particular standard 2 has now been what we call excluded from the upcoming examination. Besides that, there is one standard 29 which I forgot to write actually. I think I have written it somewhere. Right, sorry, 29, I have put up a dash here. In fact, there is a standard that is related to hyperinflationary conditions. Now this particular standard 2 has been now excluded for the upcoming May 2019 examinations. So after going through over the entire range of Ind AS, you need to actually understand one significant aspect: which are the standards which are absolutely theoretical in nature and which are the standards which are absolutely practical in nature. Once again, I am just repeating and recapitulating. Ind AS 109, Ind AS 32, Ind AS 107 are purely practical in nature. Those will be covered, and those must be covered along with financial instrument. You need not require to have a greater what we call theoretical look as far as your preparation arsenal is concerned. Then similarly, accounting standard 102, since it is related to share-based payment, so again it is a pure practical sort of what we call a standard. Are you getting my point? Then focal area standard. Don't ignore agriculture. Don't ignore non-current asset held for sale. Similarly, don't ignore, as I said earlier, 19 and 17. These standards are vital from the examination point of view, but as far as theoretical standard is concerned, most prominent one is Ind AS 12. So these are the input which I wanted to bring to your notice. Then after having a look over what we call Ind AS, then we move over to another segment. What is that particular segment? Now that particular segment is actually related to your guidance notes. Many students I have seen are having what we call unnecessary phobia with respect to guidance notes. See here, guidance note. How to prepare about that? Will you get separate questions from guidance notes? What exactly the guidance notes are then? When a particular confusion arises with respect to a particular point, ICI more often than not actually issues some additional guidelines, basically known as guidance notes. First of all, you must understand that. Now, always the purpose of issuing a guidance note is to give some clearance, some clarification with respect to a particular point which is creating some doubts or confusions or controversies. Now, as far as what we call guidance notes are concerned, if you remember, one guidance note is related to measurement of income tax. Now, many of the students I have heard saying, sir, you haven't done guidance note. It means you are not listening to the lecture correctly. Measurement of income tax, and applicabilities. The next guidance note is applicability of income tax with respect to both these standards are related to your AS25. Now, let me tell you, all the aspects of this particular standard are well and truly covered in AS25 itself. Those among you who have gone through AS25, and you can vouch by yourself that the questions which are given even in what we call guidance note have been well and truly, as I said, covered under what we call AS25. So my point is, you need not require to separately study this. If you have studied accounting standard AS25, and wherein I have also spoken that these are the points related to guidance notes. So that means all the questions of this guidance notes have already been covered along with existing accounting standard AS25. So if you want to prepare what we call guidance notes, you will have to prepare what we call AS25. Then no separate lectures are being provided for it, because these points and along with questions which are given in the guidance note module of ICI, we have covered along with what we call AS25. That was my point. Then next what we call guidance note is with respect to your combined and guidance note on combined and carve outs. This guidance note you will have to cover, because it cannot be covered along with any existing accounting standard. Then there is another what we call standard, another guidance note with respect to expenditure on corporate social responsibility. Expenditure on corporate social responsibility. Just to make the point, those among you who are having my book actually or my notes, I have written at the top also. For example, if you have studied corporate social reporting, wherein we covered at length in almost all the 20 questions. So, expenditure on corporate social reporting, all the guidelines we have covered along with what we call CSR. So, you need not require to waste your time in going about what we call these guidelines. All those guidelines have been well and truly and at depth and completely and comprehensively covered in, as I said, what we call corporate social reporting. Even the questions which have been given in the guidance note too have been incorporated in what we call chapter corporate social responsibility. That is my point, and that is the point I just told in the beginning, that how in lesser time you can maximize your preparation. Similarly, next one is, there is one guidance note with respect to certified emission reductions, EMISSION, CER mostly we call it. And recently I have uploaded and given you and released my recordings of what we call this particular chapter, correct certified emission reductions. Have you gone through those or not? I do not know, but all the guidelines of this particular guidance note again is covered in that particular chapter. Carbon credits. See, under the carbon credits, an entity can earn what we call CERs, and what exactly will be the treatment of CER and how those CER can be traded and can be what we call used as a beneficiary tool by the entities. All these points have been discussed well and truly, as I said, what we call in carbon credits. So, this particular guidance note is covered along with carbon credits. You need not require to actually separately study it. Similarly, this is what we call covered under CSR. This particular is already covered under AS25. Then last but not the least, and last guidance note is, and unfortunately we have given in notes one guidance note with respect to real estate, but as per the latest guideline, only these are the guidance note which are part of your syllabi now. So one guidance note is with respect to .com companies. Now many students actually wonder, .com companies, so often you use this word, correct, and you are better equipped to face this rather than I. Let me tell you, you need not require to develop any hunches. We call hunches in Hindi आशंकाएं, डर, सहमना जिसे बोलते हैं. This particular guidance note, all the guidelines have been covered under e-commerce. All the questions and illustration, 2 or 3 illustration which are given in the guidance note have been incorporated in e-commerce. We have covered 17 questions. E-commerce .com is nothing but related to e-commerce. So that means we have covered your all the what we call guidance note along with respective chapters. Only one what we call guidance note shall require separate efforts, that is combined and carve out. Is it clear to you or not? So these are the hunches which student fraternity are developing, as I have been noticing down. Now just we are coming to the end of this particular session, but just wait for a while. Besides in your course, as I said, practical oriented chapters as far as is concerned, practical oriented chapter. Practical orientation can be divided into 2 parts. You can divide it into 2 parts. One is high strength chapter and second one is low strength. High strength chapter. So obviously I have written it this way around, high strength, so you need to put high amount of efforts towards these, no doubt about that. And low strength, I should not use the word low strength, but what I mean lesser than, use the low here in relative term. Low strength. High strength, needless to add, one is consolidation. It means when I am writing here purely practical oriented, it means you need to have a good look over Ind AS 110, 111, 112 and of course 28. Your preparation will be absolutely maximum and as we call it in English, to the hilt. To the hilt का मतलब होता है आखिरी सीमा तक. करेक्ट. अगर किसी चीज का प्रिपरेशन आखिरी सीमा तक करना हो तो उसके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, बहुत गहनता से, लगन से, मेहनत से, करेक्ट, हम पढ़ें और तभी हम उसके आखिरी सीमा तक उसको छू सकते हैं. हमने तकरीबन अपने उसमें अगर आप सारे इनको मिलाएंगे तो 150 के क्वेश्चन के करीब हमने इसको कवर करे हैं, करेक्ट. और जहाँ तक सवाल है लो स्ट्रेंथ का, तो अच्छा अभी मैं पहले हाई स्ट्रेंथ को कवर कर लूँ, मैंने करा नहीं है. इसमें फिर बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन मैं बता ही चुका हूँ. तो बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन में बेटे 103 आपको करना होगा, करेक्ट, 103. एंड देन लो स्ट्रेंथ में मुझे बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. अच्छा हाई स्ट्रेंथ में आप इसको इग्नोर ना करें, शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट को. शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट, इट इज़ क्वाइट ए स्ट्रॉन्ग चैप्टर और इसमें कोई आसान क्वेश्चन आने के चांसेस नहीं हैं. हालांकि मैं कहूँ मुश्किल तो ऐसा भी नहीं है, लेकिन कोई भी चीज़ मुश्किल तब लगती है जब हमने उसके बारे में पढ़ा नहीं होता है. अगर हमने उसके बारे में ठीक तरीके से सब कुछ पढ़ा है, क्योंकि जो IFRS 2 है उस पर बेस्ड इंड AS 102 है और ये चैप्टर हमने उसके हिसाब से करना है. इससे पहले भी हमने शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट्स इससे पहले के लेवल पे करा है, जहां पर हमने ICI के गाइडेंस नोट को ज़्यादा तवज्जो दी है, जबकि शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट अब हम जो कर रहे हैं इस लेवल पे वो IFRS के हिसाब से कर रहे हैं. जब मैं IFRS कह रहा हूँ तो इसका मतलब इंड AS के हिसाब से करेंगे, तो उसमें थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है. और आप देखेंगे कि आपको वैसे क्वेश्चन नहीं मिलेंगे जैसे आप इससे पहले करते थे, बल्कि कुछ अलग किस्म के क्वेश्चन मिलेंगे. जहां सामान बेचा जा रहा है उसके अगेंस्ट शेयर की पेमेंट हो रही है तो उसका कैसे ट्रीटमेंट है, मैंने बिल्डिंग खरीदी उसके लिए मैंने शेयर्स इश्यू करे तो उसका कैसे ट्रीटमेंट है. ये कुछ नए तरीके के क्वेश्चंस हैं. लो स्ट्रेंथ का जहां तक सवाल है बेटे 1, इसमें हमने जो चैप्टर्स तुम्हें दिए हुए हैं, एक तो वैल्यू एडेड, अगर आपको याद हो तो वैल्यू एडेड में मैं चाहूँगा जो लेक्चर 6 है हमने अपलोड करा हुआ है, लेक्चर 6 को अगर आपने पहले पढ़ लिया, क्योंकि मैंने उसको रिवाइज करा है, आप उसको देखें दोबारा, मैंने उसमें कुछ 2 नए क्वेश्चन ऐड करे हैं, करेक्ट. वो जो दो नए क्वेश्चन हमने ऐड करे हैं उसमें, जिसमें टारगेट इंडेक्स हैं और एम्प्लॉयज़ की वैल्यू एडेड के रेशियो से रिलेटेड वो क्वेश्चन हैं, तो आप उनको जरूर करें। उसके अलावा वैल्यू एडेड के साथ साथ हमने इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू एडेड का लेक्चर भी भेजा है। आप सोचेंगे कि ऐसा है कि मॉड्यूल में इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू एडेड नहीं लिखा है, लेकिन इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू एडेड के क्वेश्चन ना वैल्यू एडेड के साथ ही इंक्लूड हैं, तो अगर आप इसको भी पढ़ लें तो आप सेफ्टी लेवल पर आएंगे। फिर अकाउंटिंग फॉर ई कॉमर्स है, अकाउंटिंग फॉर ई कॉमर्स को भी नेग्लेक्ट ना करें, खासतौर से इसमें जो क्वेश्चन है आईजीएसटी से रिलेटेड, सीजीएसटी से, सिंपल वर्ड्स में जीएसटी से रिलेटेड, अकाउंटिंग पैटर्न से रिलेटेड वो क्वेश्चंस आप करें। ई कॉमर्स, अकाउंटिंग फॉर ई कॉमर्स के बाद फिर आपका एक चैप्टर है इंटीग्रेटेड रिपोर्टिंग। इंटीग्रेटेड रिपोर्टिंग प्योरली थ्योरेटिकल है, उसके बावजूद भी हमने इसको बहुत कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव तरीके से कवर करा है। हमने शॉर्ट नोट्स के थ्रू और क्वेश्चन आंसर फॉर्मेशन में ये क्वेश्चन करा है। तो आई स्टिल वुड लव यू टू एक्चुअली गिव इक्वल अमाउंट ऑफ इंटेंसिटी, इवन दो दीज चैप्टर मे समटाइम अपीयर व्हाट वी कॉल वेरी इनोसेंट। फिर एक चैप्टर है ह्यूमन रिसोर्स अकाउंटिंग, इसमें से क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है, और मैंने अपने लेक्चर्स के दौरान भी कहा था कि इंडियन कंपनीज जो हैं वो जनरली लेव एंड स्वार्ट्स के मॉडल को अडॉप्ट करती हैं, तो उन मेथड्स पर बेस्ड जो क्वेश्चंस हैं उनका आप ध्यान रखें। और क्या था, और तो हमने इसमें कुछ शूट तो नहीं किया है। अकाउंटिंग फॉर कार्बन क्रेडिट हमने अभी तक नहीं लिखा है। 6 कार्बन क्रेडिट, याद रखें कि जब कार्बन क्रेडिट्स आप करेंगे तो गाइडेंस नोट जो हैं CER से रिलेटेड वो ऑटोमेटिकली इसके साथ कवर होगा। जब आप अकाउंटिंग फॉर ई कॉमर्स करेंगे तो गाइडेंस नोट जो .com पर है वो इसके साथ आपका ऑटोमेटिकली कवर हो जाएगा। उसके अलावा 2 गाइडेंस नोट जिनका ताल्लुक AS25 से, वो IFR एग्जिस्टिंग अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड आप पढ़ें और वहाँ से आप उसको आसानी से कवर कर सकते हैं। ये सब बताने के पीछे उद्देश्य यही था कि जो भी आपके मन में एक तो जो कन्फ्यूज़न था वो दूर करा जाए, क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ना है। नंबर 1, कौन से चैप्टर हाई स्ट्रेंथ के हैं, कौन से लो स्ट्रेंथ के हैं, कोशिश करी गई है। पर इसका ये कतई मतलब नहीं है कि अगर हमने ये चैप्टर लिखे हैं तो आप बिल्कुल इसको लाइटर लुक लें। आपने नोट करा होगा कि हर चैप्टर को करने के लिए हमने बहुत स्वेटिंग आउट करी है और बहुत मेहनत करी है, और मैं भी चाहता हूँ कि वो मेहनत जो करी गई है जब मैं कह रहा हूँ तो हमारे साथ साथ आप, बल्कि आप ज़्यादा डिराइव सम मैक्सिमम बेनिफिट आउट ऑफ दैट। करेक्ट। ये सब करने के बाद अब एक बात उभर के सामने आती है, सर क्या अकाउंटिंग फ्रेमवर्क में से कुछ पूछा जाएगा? बिल्कुल नहीं पूछा जाएगा। लेट मी मेक इट एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर। अकाउंटिंग फ्रेमवर्क, दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क यू। Basic purpose of keeping it as a part of syllabus is to acquaint you with the basics of the accounting, because sometimes we have been studying word assets so often, but what should be the real definition of the asset, that you will come through only what we call after having a look over the accounting framework. So basic idea of making accounting framework as the part of the syllabi is to acquaint you with the term in a better and precise manner. अकाउंटिंग फ्रेमवर्क में से मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई भी क्वेश्चन आएगा, लेकिन फिर भी मेरी एडवाइस है एक लाइटर लुक आप इसमें से रखें। सर क्या कोई रिवाइज शेड्यूल से क्वेश्चन आ सकता है? शेड्यूल 3 से क्या कोई क्वेश्चन आ सकता है? तो अगेन मेरी एडवाइस है बेटा, इसमें से कोई क्वेश्चन के चांसेस नहीं है। रीज़न बीइंग इज दैट ये आपने पहले से पढ़े हुए हैं। शेड्यूल 3 रखने के पीछे ICAI का उद्देश्य क्या है कि आपको एक फॉर्मेशन दी जाए कि जो अकाउंटिंग है, खास तौर से जो इसमें डिवीज़न 2 है, उसकी आपको अच्छी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए, ताकि आप इस कॉन्सेप्ट से, अदर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इनकम के कॉन्सेप्ट से अच्छी तरह से वाकिफ़ हो सकें। और एक आखिरी बात, एक चैप्टर और है आपका जो है कैश फ्लो एनालिसिस से, अगर आपने देखा होगा ये लास्ट चैप्टर हमने अपनी बुक में रखा हुआ है। हमने इसमें अलग से कोई क्वेश्चन इसलिए नहीं दिया क्योंकि जो कैश फ्लो एनालिसिस है उसके अंदर जितने भी उसके अंदर क्वेश्चन है वो अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड पर बेस्ड हैं, लेकिन हमने अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड आपको सारे दिए हुए हैं। हालांकि सारे आपके कोर्स का हिस्सा नहीं है, आपके कोर्स के हिस्से में सिर्फ 15 है, अगर आपने नोट करा हो 21 है, 25 है, 28 है, ये जो है आपके कोर्स के हिस्से हैं। 21 है जैसे कि मैंने कहा, that you will have to study, 15 you will have to study, then 25 too you will have to study. All these are part of your course, no doubt about that. हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि ये आपके कोर्स का हिस्सा नहीं है। पॉइंट क्या समझना है कि हमने सारे स्टैंडर्ड क्यों दिए हैं? क्योंकि इस लेवल पे जब तुमने पढ़ाई करनी है तो आपको एग्जिस्टिंग स्टैंडर्ड सबकी जानकारी होनी चाहिए, तभी आप क्वेश्चन को ठीक तरीके से फेस कर पाएंगे। तो ये सब मैंने कहा कि इस क्लास को रखने के पीछे मेन मकसद, मेन जो ऑब्जेक्टिव लक्ष्य था हमारा, कि आपको एक आइडिया देना मई 2019 एग्जामिनेशन के लिए क्या क्या रिसेंट डेवलपमेंट्स हुए हैं। तो कुछ स्टैंडर्ड अच्छी न्यूज़ है कि आपके लिए हटा दिए गए हैं, हालांकि कुछ डिलीट नहीं करा गया है, वो मई 2019 के लिए हटाए गए हैं। किन स्टैंडर्ड पे आपको ज़्यादा जोर देना है, किन स्टैंडर्ड को ध्यान से करना है, कौन से आपके मेजर चैप्टर हैं, और मेजर चैप्टर में प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट आएंगे, केस स्टडी आएगी, इन सब पे हमने डिस्कशन करने की कोशिश करी। एक बार रिपीट करते हुए, स्टैंडर्ड्स का जहां तक सवाल है, आपको ध्यान देना है पहले तो कौन से स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है, किन स्टैंडर्ड पे आपने ज़्यादा ध्यान देना है। बिजनेस कॉम्बिनेशन में से मुझे लगता है 2 क्वेश्चन आएंगे, एक छोटा केस स्टडी पर और एक प्रैक्टिकल। कंसोलिडेशन से हमें लगता है कि एक केस स्टडी पर, एक छोटा प्रैक्टिकल और एक बड़ा प्रैक्टिकल आने के चांसेस हैं। शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट से कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है। आप बिल्कुल इग्नोर ना करें ई कॉमर्स को और खास तौर से कार्बन क्रेडिट्स को। क्या वैल्यू एडेड से क्वेश्चन आ सकता है? देखो, क्वेश्चन तो कहीं से भी आ सकता है, लेकिन जिस पे ज़्यादा मैंने कहा थोड़ा सा तैयारी रखनी है, ज़्यादा ध्यान रखना है। तो उम्मीद है कि वी हैव बीन एबल टू एक्चुअली गिव यू सम इनपुट्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू व्हाट वी कॉल प्रिपरेशन स्ट्रेटेजी। तो इस उम्मीद के साथ कि आपका पेपर बहुत अच्छा हो, ये हम कामना करते हैं, और हमारी प्रार्थना भी है, हमारी गुजारिश भी है ऑलमाइटी से कि आपको बहुत ज़्यादा आपका पेपर अच्छा हो। और इन उम्मीदों के साथ दैट यू विल कम आउट विद द फ्लाइंग कलर्स इन द अपकमिंग एग्जामिनेशन, वी just close it down on this note. A lovely goodbye from here in Delhi.